Welcome to the Internet of Senses podcast. I'm Samantha G. Wolfe, and I focus on the sense of sight. So, when people say that somebody is a visionary in emerging technology, what do they mean? Is it all about an original vision? Is it a creative vision? Is it a technological vision? Could it be both? That's basically the big question that I have today because I am comfortable calling Michaela a visionary, and we're going to look into detail about that. So, Michaela Ternasky-Holland is an award-winning director who specializes in creating impactful stories using emerging technologies like VR, AR, AI, and probably even more as her career progresses, while keeping in the traditional mediums of film and television and even a recent museum curation. So I did write this down because I wanted to do Michaela justice. I'm going to read for this, what I wrote before. Michaela's creative visions come from an authentic place with themes that don't shy away from her own personal tale of loss and grief, her connection to the past, and often show, in spite of everything, hope and acceptance. So she's bringing to light universal truths from culturally specific stories, and her work doesn't tell people to change their minds. It kind of makes you figure it out for yourself, which is amazing. And it's no surprise that she's been Peabody nominated. She's won an Emmy Award. Her work has been recognized at Collision Awards, International VR Awards, and named one of the 100 original voices in XR. But to me, she just feels like she's at the beginning, like literally just feels like she's just started. I'm excited to have Michaela join me today to talk about her own personal journey so far and her vision for what's next. So thanks, Michaela, for joining me.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to have this conversation and I'm excited to be able to connect and geek out and nerd out about, all the things that we love talking about, Samantha.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to focus today because you and I already know each other, and it was really fun preparing for this podcast because I got to hear even more about your story and see you sort of do what you do. But we're only gonna like look at, I guess, part of your career because there's so much else that we could talk about. But I wanted to talk a bit about, to keep us sort of on track, some bit about your personal experiences, your experience with technology and storytelling, and then hit at the end about what's next. With each of them, I think are so like key to who you are. And one of the reasons when I was asked, who should come on this podcast, and I was like, Michaela would be a great person to have on this podcast. You have such a kind of interesting life story and new perspective. If you can talk a little bit about that, and whether it be your family, some about dance, some about journalism, and just sort of set the scene a bit for who you are and what kind of things you bring to your work.
Definitely. Happy to talk about all those things. So, my name is Michaela Ternasky-Holland, and I really came into this world without a father. My father died in a car accident when my mother was 6 months pregnant with me, which was very traumatizing, obviously, for my mother, but also for me as a young girl coming into this world, realizing that I was missing something very key in my family structure. And my father was a skateboard filmmaker and a street skateboard owner, and he really left this incredible void, not just in the lives of my mother and I, but also in this void in the lives of his skaters and the lives of the rest of the skate community. And obviously, due to grief and loss, there was some decisions made by both my mother and my stepfather, who came into my life a little bit later, that I wouldn't be as connected to my a biological father and his legacy and his community and even his family. And so I grew up very much disconnected from that person and who that person was in my life, and quickly took on a different identity as the oldest of six kids. My mother had five children before I turned 15. So between the time I was 5 and 15 years old, she had five children in the course of 10 years. And, that really became my whole life, was being this oldest daughter, making my way in the world, trying to, be the best version of a daughter I could be in a very religious, conservative Christian household. We ended up moving a lot as a young girl. I moved to Ohio. We moved to different areas in California. I was in very different schooling systems. I went from very strict conservative Christian school systems where I had to wear skirts below the knee and stand up for people walking in the door, to having a very loose, more Christian school where I was actually surfing for PE. I also was homeschooled from sixth to eighth grade. I had to move through so many different facets of my life. I realized that one of my superpowers by the time I got to high school was this ability to just let go and start new, like let go of old communities, start with new communities, let go of old school, start with new school, let go of old curriculum or old styles of doing something and start new. And this was really something I brought into my day to day life, especially when it came to my interests. So I did gymnastics, I did track and field, I did swimming. I was very physically, athletically active, but that all changed when I found dance in my 14, 13-year-old self. And I found dance as this beautiful creative expression of who I was, but also this beautiful storytelling expression of who I was. And unfortunately, my parents saw that as a threat to my education. So they took me out of dance and asked me to apply to college and asked me to pursue a career. And so, where you'll find 18-year-old Michaela is applying to colleges, getting into UC Irvine, and asking herself, well, how can I still pursue dance and something that I would be interested in? And I realized, obviously, within the storytelling of dance, the storytelling of being a part of this oldest of six kids environment, there was something about me that loved to experience stories and tell people stories. And so journalism was where I found myself applying to college. And even while I was in the midst of doing my journalism degree, I was also dancing and performing in Los Angeles. And all of that came to a head when I booked a Disney Cruise Line contract, left my college for 9 months, basically dropped out of college, left my degree behind, pursued my dreams, performed not only for crazy amazing audiences on a crazy amazing ship, but also got to meet people from all around the world. So again, this idea of like just leaving it all behind, like I left behind all of college to start fresh on Disney Cruise Line. I also left Disney Cruise Line 9 months after my first contract finished to return and finish my degree, and just constantly trying to make the best with the situations I had. And that really is what set me up today to, I think, blend all these different mediums, thinking about these mediums in a different format, in different ways, how you impact people, how you help people go through an experience, how you also touch people's hearts, minds, souls in ways that you might not realize you can do with these mediums that seem more technologically focused. So that's really my Marvel origin story. That's just to give you context as to who I am and what I really experienced as a kid growing up. I didn't have like a traditional upbringing. I didn't have a traditional college path. I very much have been a DIY person since I was very young.
Yeah, no, there's so many things that it feels like you pull from those experiences in the way that you're like choosing your stories and using your technology or whatever. I don't know if you noticed, but in one of your interviews that I listened to, you said I choreographed the audience. And I was like, that's so right. That is so like it's not the user experience. It's not whatever. It's like you are thinking like a dancer, it feels like.